pause. Press play. Don't pause.
Comics Plus, what is going on? My name is Akasan. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing swell. You know I don't really like clickbait articles, right? And I don't really talk about this sort of stuff unless it's something really, really big. But it's something you guys have been asking me to speak on a lot, and I've been holding off, but I think I finally have accumulated enough articles that we can kind of have somewhat of a big discussion. The man with a plan that half the audience may not like, Zack Snyder, is back in the news. Hold on a second. Zack Snyder is currently in the process of promoting his latest movie, Army of the Dead, right now. And through his presser, a presser is when you just go through and talk to different reporters and things like that. People, either he is bringing it up himself or the reporters are asking him about his time with the WB, about his time on Justice League, about everything. And Zack Snyder has not held back. He's been pretty honest in terms of where his relationship with Warner Brothers is right now, and what Warner Brothers thinks of Zack Snyder right now. It's kind of almost like a middle of a bad divorce or something like that. It feels like neither side is really wanting to talk to each other. And I would say for the record, it's important to realize that I think parts of Warner Brothers is what Zack is referring to, like the major people involved, Warner Brothers, and not HBO Max and not Warner Brothers Animation, where some people have opinions about it, but it's basically coming down to the decision makers. So let's go ahead and talk about the first one, the first and foremost thing. Let's talk about the main thing. This one's coming from Screen Rant, and this is basically saying Zack Snyder talks to restore the Snyderverse. Says WB is aggressively anti-Snyder. In an interview, Zack Snyder addresses the status of the ongoing movement to restore the Snyderverse without the support of Warner Brothers. Here we go. Director Zack Snyder addresses the status of the Restore the Snyderverse movement months after the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Immediately after the Snyder Cut was released, after more than 3 years of waiting, a brand new public campaign started, this time demanding the constitutional continuation of Snyder's vision for the DCEU. Months have passed since it all started, and the filmmaker is now offering his hopes on the matter. Snyder originally mapped out a 5-part arc for the DCEU that would have supposedly wrapped up with Justice League 3, but after the divisive response to Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, plans were changed. Justice League, which is its direct sequel, is heavily altered after principal photography when Snyder was no longer involved and had been replaced by Joss Whedon. Extensive reshoots essentially left much of Snyder's footage unused, resulting in a very different story from what was originally to be. The Snyder Cut, although not canon, reveals what could have been, and the fans of the filmmaker want more. True that. During an interview with Jake Takes, as Snyder promotes his new project Netflix Army of the Dead, the director was asked what he can tell to those who are still holding out hope that the Snyderverse will indeed be restored. He hopes that despite Warner Brothers supposedly being aggressively anti-Snyder, sorry, I need to talk about that a little bit later though. I got it. But anyways, okay. They will realize that there's a massive clamor for his version of the DCEU. Read what Snyder said below. Warner Brothers has been aggressively anti-Snyder, if you will. What can I say? Clearly, they're not interested in my take. But I would also say that they certainly weren't interested in, I would have said originally, in my take on Justice League. They certainly made decisions about that. Okay. I love the characters. I love the worlds. And I think it's an amazing place to make a movie. It's a glorious IP. So there's that. I don't know what could be done as you go forward other than I think the fan movement is so strong and the fan community, their intention, it's so pure. And I really have this huge respect for it. I would hope that cooler heads would prevail with the studio and that they would see that there's a massive fandom that wants more of that. But who knows what they'll do. Interesting. So here's my initial take from reading that, you know, and I agree with what you're saying, vice versa. Like, just taking that last part, it almost feels like Zack Snyder is doing essentially what he's been doing from the beginning. It's just like trying to get his fan base to keep his fan base going so that they can essentially continue to like annoy the hell out of Warner Brothers to the point where Warner Brothers just gives in to release, to bring in this dude back. That's what it basically kind of sounds like. On the other side, on the flip side, the thing is, I don't think I'm gonna assume that Snyder has not seen the full numbers on HBO Max. I don't know. Maybe they have though. Maybe they have. Maybe someone has snuck them some of the information. But I really feel like, if somebody gives them those numbers, and if those numbers are good, he would immediately tell people how good those numbers were, right? He just go ahead and just leak that shit out there, right? But my whole thing is, I personally just feel like the numbers were not as big as most people were expecting, and they were okay. They were okay-ish, right? And so there's like this mixed feeling of like, okay, well, they were good, but if Warner Brothers had promoted it more, they would have been great like that. Or they were good because nobody really cares about the Snyderverse. The majority of people don't care about a 4-hour movie, right? So there's this kind of mixed feeling, I guess, on both sides of the camp. That's my take on this. And then the second thing is, okay, well, he already talked about the fandom. And then this thing about Anti-Snyder and not giving him like not interested in his take. I would say to that, what kind of studio would give somebody with like one successful movie at that time, 300, keys to an entire universe to create a universe over it? That's the thing I think that sometimes gets lost in the history is like, look, Warner Brothers gave you that chance. Warner Brothers gave you the keys to an entire universe. It just didn't pan out. You got 2 movies out there, Man of Steel, which did okay-ish, and from the immediate, like, Warner Brothers, when they're taking a chance, they weren't expecting you to polarize an entire audience into, instead of just coming out of a movie theater and being like, man, that was a good movie. I don't think Warner Brothers was expecting people to have an almost decade, 10 years of arguments whether or not a movie was good, where they're expecting people just to be like, yeah, that was a good movie, or oh, not too bad, I'm looking forward to more. Not, hey, you didn't like this movie because it was too smart for you, and we continue to have this debate. That's not what an investment, that's not a good investment. So Man of Steel came out, did okay-ish. BVS came out, and we all know that story. So it is what it is. Initially, let me keep going here. Initially, Snyder downplayed hopes for the Snyderverse being restored. Before the release of the Snyder Cut on HBO Max, he told his fans that he has no plans of continuing the arc. However, considering how Zack Snyder very clearly sets up a sequel, even ending in a cliffhanger of sorts, it's understandable that those are, okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm not reading all of this. Okay. So then I want to call attention to the next one, which is Zack Snyder owns up to provoking his fans for clicks and charity. Now, I'm just reading this verbatim as Gizmo wrote it. This is done by Charles Pullman Moore. Zack Snyder owns up to provoking his fans for clicks and charity. Yeah, to this day, the Martha scene is like, that's not the kind of investment WB was banking on when they let Zack Snyder create a universe. If you're a coach, let me put this in other terms here. If you're a coach and you got a boxer, or sorry. Let me say, if you own a basketball team, okay, if you're an owner, if you're in the NBA and you own a basketball team, you're the owner. If you're what's his name, Mick Kupchak, is that his name? If you're owning the Lakers, right, and you got somebody taking over after Phil Jackson left. This is all Lakers analogy, right? Phil Jackson just retired, right? And you're the new team. You're the new coach. You got Kobe on your team, right? This is as far back as I go with the Lakers. You got Kobe on your team. You're Mike Brown, right? And you're the new guy. You're coming in here and you got this entire world franchise team, championship franchise team. And you're playing through an entire season and your team is ass. Your team is ass when before it did really well. You can't be mad when the owner pulls you out halfway through the season and you didn't make the playoffs or something like that, right? And you get fired next season. That's how it goes. They're not going to keep on. Wait, just let it get a rhythm. And look, they got a whole plan. Look, not just 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. Then we're going to have this ultimate sort of story art. No, dude. People are turning away now because it's ass right now, dude. So that's kind of the best analogy I'm saying, That's a good point. How do you make one scene so bad it becomes memeable? And that's the biggest, even people like Marta on Comics Plus. And was I not recording this entire time? Oh, fuck. I got to download this VOD. It's okay. I'll just pull the VOD later. Dumb. All right. You got this entire, you got people like on Marta. Marta's up here, like, people... every time I mention Marta's name, people are like, "Why did you say that name?" That's how goofy you turn Batman versus Superman, Batman and Superman into. That's crazy, man. Anyways, let's go to the next one. Zack Snyder owns up to provoking his fans for clicks and charity. Zack Snyder's Justice League is a perfectly passable, questionably long comic book movie whose existence can be attributed to a number of factors beyond its director's firm belief in his vision of what DC superheroes should look like and act on silver screen. Following the initial release of Justice League's theatrical cut, a bit of a Franken movie cobbled together from things Snyder shot from before he left the project and was replaced by Joss Whedon on a vocal contingent of Snyder fans, wasted little time calling for Warner Brothers to release a director's cut closer to Snyder's vision. At the time, the footage that would eventually become Zack Snyder's Justice League couldn't be considered a workable, completed movie. But that did not quiet fans for the Snyder Cut release or lessen how the fandom around Snyder was becoming more solidified as a group. A major part of the reason that Snyder's fans grew more inconsistent with their demands for the director's Justice League was the way he frequently interacted with them on social media, especially on Vero, his preferred outlet. By working fans into frenzies by sharing secret looks at things related to the Snyder Cut, the director gave people reason not only to hope, but to double down on their belief in the movie's existence. That is true. In a recent interview with the Sunday Times, Snyder opened up about his approach to interacting with his fans and explained while he's very proud of the charity works that's come out of the group, he recognizes how he played on their emotions for clicks and hypes. They've saved lives. I wouldn't say all of them, but yeah, a core amount of them. They've saved lives, he said, referring to money raised for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. That's a fact. But on the other hand, was it fun to provoke them for a clickable thing? Yes. And they were an easy target. He said it. Nobody else did. They've saved lives, he said. That's a fact. But on the other hand, was it fun to provoke them for a clickable thing? Yes. They were an easy target. But they continued to raise money. I don't know, man. I don't call, like, I'm not, I'm not a huge fan, but if somebody, to me, that sounds pretty fucking insulting. Like that sounds like, I mean, I don't know if that's being, like, that's exactly what he said, right? Like, that's not getting, like, man, I don't know if I would be so, personally, as a fan, I'd be upset if someone I looked up to called me an easy target. Like, what? Okay, whatever. When the AFSP thanked the Release the Snyder Cut movement back in February for raising $500,000, it stood out as an example of how a fandom's collective energies can be put toward a solid case. But the donation existed alongside the Snyder fandom's well-documented history of bullying and harassing people who expressed any sort of negativity towards Snyder or the idea of him making another Justice League film. Like most online movements, there is no way for well-meaning Snyder fans to police their more vitriolic peers who felt compelled to tell people to kill themselves, among other wild trolly things. But these are the sort of things that individuals like Snyder, who are in a unique positions of power in regards to these massive fandoms, have to take into consideration when they decide to capitalize on the fandom's energy for any given purpose. Though Snyder stoking his fandom flames led to charity, it's important to keep in mind that it was also a drawn-out advertising stunt meant to help with an unfinished film. Meant to help will an unfinished film into existence years after its original incarnation bombed at the box office. As is usually the case with stunts, there were unintended consequences. In this case, ugly harassment that Snyder has to own also if he wants to take credit for the good that's come out of his work. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Very interesting. Very interesting. Give a mouse a cookie. He'll ask for a glass of milk. Daddy, insult me more. I am a swine. I mean, I don't even know what to say after that. I mean, I'm not surprised, honestly. But I feel bad. I feel bad for the people that, like, part of me feels like a lot of the people that are kind of, like, they do it for fun. They don't really care so much about the getting more work being, getting more of Zack Snyder's work or getting him part. I think some of them just do it just because it's kind of like the thing to do. It's like nothing else. Corona, you're at home in a pandemic, whatever, hashtag release the Snyder Cut. And they do it a lot. A lot of these people just do it just because they know it kind of annoys some people, you know? And so, you know, So it's even if him saying this kind of stuff is just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, hit me more, daddy, right in my face. But the one thing I wanted to bring up as I wrap this situation up here is outside of all of this, a few days ago, we had this whole discussion about Superman being black, our black Clark Kent, right? Well, Zack Snyder has also responded to that. And this is where it gets really funny, because last week we had a huge discussion that I recommend you guys check out, where everybody of all likes, colors, and creeds called in and gave their thoughts on the black Superman, black Kal-El, black Clark Kent, right? And I felt like a lot of that was coming from people that were just wanting the restore the Snyderverse, that wanted the continuation of the DCEU not to be tampered with, right? That's kind of what I felt a lot of it was. Like, people saw this with this announcement being announced on Henry Cavill's birthday. People just saw that as a dig to like ultimately replace Henry Cavill. But Zack Snyder calls Warner Brothers' decision to cast a black actor as Superman bold and long overdue. Zack Snyder shares this. So, we recently got confirmation that WB was working with J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates on a new take on Superman with a black actor in the role. And Zack Snyder has now shared his thoughts on the project. Earlier this year, news broke that Warner Brothers was in the process of developing a new Superman movie with J.J. Abrams on board as producer via his Bad Robot label, and claimed Black Panther comic writer Ta-Nehisi Coates on board to pen the script. Yo, wait a second. I didn't even realize this is a Black Panther writer? Oh man, dude, this movie would be fucking awesome. Hold on a second. What specifically has he written of Black Panther? See, I'm oh my god, are you serious? I'm telling you, like, some of this shit, like, okay, so in 2016, okay. All right. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if he wrote some of the more stories that okay. Wait, is it, yeah, okay. I'm just saying, look, man, I think people are real quick to, wait a second. Did they pull this guy already, though? Hold on, let me go back a second. Did they pull him already, though? But I'm just saying, okay. All I'm just saying is, like, look, man, I think there was a knee-jerk reaction, but if Warner Brother, exactly, see, if Warner Brother had orchestrated this a little bit better, and if they had actually, but see, I think the problem is in a Warner Brothers release, you don't necessarily want to put out the competition's work, right? So you don't want to put out that information that, okay, no, this guy wrote for Black Panther, right? I don't know, but anyways, my whole point is, like, I think people are really they're heading it. It's just a knee-jerk reaction, but now that I know that, I'm like, wait a second. A comic book writer, a specifically Black Panther, writing a script? They're not going to screw that up. We had heard that Henry Cavill was not expected to reprise the role, and it was recently confirmed that the project is being set forth as a sort of Elseworlds take on the Man of Steel, with a black actor currently being sought to play the iconic DC Comics hero. Justice League director Zack Snyder was tasked with rebooting Superman for the then burgeoning DCEU with 2013's Man of Steel. During an interview with the Radio Times, the filmmaker was asked to share his thoughts on WB's future plans for the character, plans which don't seem to involve Cavill. So Zack Snyder says, "My feeling is that I love J.J. Abrams. I love what he's done in the past," said Snyder. "I'm interested to see what happens. It's a bold and cool and probably long overdue move. But I love Henry Cavill as Superman. Of course I do. He's my Superman. I'm not really involved with any of the decision making at Warner Brothers in any way, he continued. So I guess for me, it's just wait and see what they do with this and how it manifests itself. But on the surface, it seems interesting. Boom! Boom, mother... So there you have it, son. There you have it. Zack Snyder, Zack Daddy himself, Snyder Bros, have said himself that it seems interesting. Long overdue. Now what you got to say? Dance for me, woman. Thank you for following Konoba. Konoba. Yeah. Konoba 7. All right. Our recent updates of new Superman links Matt Reeves upgrade, blah, 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 blah. And so they're trying to find a black director. Yeah. So that's that. So, exactly. Stop pretending to be offended for that. I just feel like I feel like it's just bad timing. It was just a bad timing situation to release that on Henry Cavill's birthday. Honestly speaking, they shouldn't have released anything. I don't know why this made the rounds when it did, but I honestly, I would have gone. I would have waited till they actually had a director announced and they actually had some stuff going on. But I think it's a combination of many things, but mainly it's the fact that people are upset about Warner Brothers handling with all things DC. I honestly would be bold enough to say most of the people sort of trying to champion an icon movie, championing a Val Zod movie, have never actually read any of the stories of either one. Calvin Ellis, I honestly don't even know how deep that story runs. I just remember him in a few pages of Final Crisis, and I was like, okay, so Obama as Superman? Like, thank you for following, Monstar. Obama as Superman. So it's like, honestly, I don't take a lot of these people trying to champion these stories to be made as a valid complaint, especially when we have a Joker movie, which is an Elseworlds tale, and suddenly everybody loved it. People complained about that. If we scream tokenism every time, then why is everybody so down with Nick Fury right now? It's like, it's weird. It's really weird to me. Why do we have a Red Sun Superman? Everybody wants that movie, right? Everybody loved the animated version of that. It's an Elseworld story. That's all it is. It's not replacing Cavill. It's not replacing Henry. There's already a mainstay problem there. There's a problem there, and that's one of the reasons why we don't see Val Zod at all. Because we don't even have a good foundation of the DCEU to grow anything with. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it if it's an Elseworld story. And it's obvious that the foundation of the DCU is messed up anyways, and it's probably going to get rebooted because, Zack Snyder mentions right there, but I love Henry Cavill as Superman. Of course I do. He's my Superman. And that's one of the biggest reasons. That's one of the biggest reasons I think WB doesn't even want to touch Henry right now, because it's kind of the DCU, the beginning of the DCEU is synonymous with Zack Snyder and Superman, Zack Snyder's Superman, and people will always keep looking at Henry that way, and I think that's the biggest problem. And WB doesn't really have enough thought process or of a creative idea or plan to get away from that lore of Zack Snyder. So the best that they can do is make these Elseworld stories for now and ride out their two bigger hits, Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and try to do something with the Flash. I don't know. But anyways, I think I'll wrap that up. There's some other things that I wanted to talk about, the Rotten Tomatoes situation, but this video is getting really long right now. But the Rotten Tomatoes score came out. It's 76 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is great. You know, good for Zack Snyder. And so, you know, that again, that's one of those things of like, at this moment in time when I see that, I feel like it's not necessarily about critics have it out for Zack Snyder. It's just that people just don't like, particularly critics, and people in the industry just don't really like his take on his superhero side of things. But it's like, look, give him Army of the Dead or whatever, and it's a little more up there, you know? So it works well. That's kind of what I'm thinking, basically, here. But that's only 28 reviews right now, so who knows what's going to happen in the near future. And then finally, you know, if you're actually interested more in the history of the Snyderverse, make sure you check out this from Small Screen. They put out a good little thing talking about everything. If the history of the Snyderverse is dead, and you know, if you want me to do a reaction to it, maybe I will on a future date. Just let me know. All right, that's it, guys. That's all I really want to talk about. We are completely updated with Zack Snyder stuff. I might do another in-depth thing about the whole Black Superman thing, because I feel like the timing and the reaction and the knee-jerk situation of all of it was different. But especially now that I'm finding out that one of the writers of Black Panther is kind of doing it. Look, man, I get it that it's like it feels like it's just a knee-jerk reaction. It's just Warner Brothers slapping whatever's on the wall and seeing what sticks. But at the same time, look, man, I might just take it at this point. The Batman, for me, looks great. Matt Reeves doing whatever, you know, his side thing. I'll take that too, you know. So Joker worked out fairly well as well. I know it's weird. It's weird that we have a company that owns the IP to everything, and they, for whatever reason, cannot get this universe running correctly. But you know, I don't see this DCEU thing getting fixed anytime soon. And hopefully, after Flashpoint, you can only pull a Flashpoint once. Hopefully, after Flashpoint, that'll fix some things. It's doubtful, but hopefully that'll fix some things. Who knows? Akasan for the WB. All right, time to go on and watch The Flash. Talk to you on the next one. Let me know what you think. Peace.